Welcome to the podcast. We Do Recover with Jared Miller, your host.
And I'm Dr. Terry Sellers, your co-host.
This is a podcast about recovery from addiction.
We want to talk about what successful recovery can look like.
Brought to you by Steps Recovery Center and the St. George Hilton Garden Inn.
Hey, you're listening to We Do Recover. Episode 93 is about to go down. I am joined by a whole crew of people today. Holy cow, I got a bunch of people in the studio here with me. I'm excited for episode 93. Let me introduce the people that I got here with me. So we have Al Richards.
Hello.
He also does a podcast. It's called The Other Side of Addiction. He brought me in a t-shirt. We're both sporting the t-shirts. And I appreciate that. Thanks, man.
Absolutely.
Love me a good
Well,
tea.
I had to pay you back for the T-shirt you brought me when you came on my show. So yeah,
Absolutely.
pay it forward.
Then we have his beautiful wife, Janan Richards.
Hello.
How are you?
Good.
Good. I'm so excited that you're on here. A lot of the topic today is going to involve you, so I'm glad
Right.
that you're here in person.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I have my beautiful wife, Mandy,
Hi. Hello.
a.k.a. our fill-in co-host when Dr. Sellers is out of town.
Apparently, that's a new
Yeah,
thing.
apparently.
She earned her stripes when we did the treatment talk, and she came up with some really good questions. So I'm like, she's a staple now, you know?
There
Gotta
you
keep
go.
her.
Yeah.
Gotta keep her. And she's easy on the eyes, which is really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of eyes, if you're watching the video version of this, yes, I have a black eye. However, Mandy didn't punch me and I didn't get in a fight.
Although if I could punch you that hard, we probably wouldn't have very many fights.
That's right, because I would just run.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
She probably wouldn't be a guest co-host
I thought
either,
you got-
right?
Probably.
I thought you got punched because of that mustache. I'd punch
The
you for that
mustache
mustache.
looks great.
Mandy loves the mustache.
I do love it.
She wouldn't let me shave it, man.
It's so good.
So yeah, I actually wrecked a dirt bike. Long story. We're not going to get into it, but it was pretty gnarly. What we usually start off with. Hold on. Pause.
'Kay.
Episode 93, part 1 is brought to us by Steps Recovery Centers. Steps Recovery Centers is ready to help you or a loved one get help as soon as you're ready to reach out. Reach out by calling them at 801-800-8142 or go to their website. Their website is stepsrc.com. You can live chat with an intake coordinator. Steps has detox, inpatient, outpatient, aftercare. They really are your first and last stop. They're everything you need. So we appreciate them sponsoring this podcast. We also, I'm going to start off with the new and goods. I never do this, but I'm just going to do it because it rolls in. It rolls into our next sponsorship mention. So me and Mandy started, we've been working on it for a long time. Idea was probably about a year ago. Been working real hard for the last 6 months on Rise Up supplements. So we have started Rise Up supplements, and we have 2 products. Our first product is Mindful Mood. Mindful Mood helps decrease anxiety and enhance mood. It is a nootropic, right? So it's going to affect the brain. The other one that we have is called Mind Shift, and that's to help increase focus and optimize brain function. So that's going to be like somebody that has a hard time paying attention, maybe a little ADHD type, right? So both those products are now on our website. Our website is riseupsups.com. That's riseupsups.com. Sweet.
Yeah.
That's my new and good.
That's a great new and good.
Let's go to Al. Al, what is new and good? What's positive going on in your life?
Oh my gosh, so many cool things. You know, you've been a guest on the podcast. It's just taken off. It's doing really, really well. We've had a lot of people throw our name out there. We're getting some really cool guests. Want to say right here with my wife next to me, she just hit 20 months sober.
Congratulations,
which is just
Janan.
Thank
kick
you.
butt. You know, it's taken long, hard road.
Yep.
You know, to get there, and a lot of hard work on her side, and
That's kind of how the whole podcast got started, right?
that's the reason why it got started. Jazz,
And that's
because
why
of
it's
her.
called The Other Side of Addiction, because it's
Yes.
from a family's perspective, which you have guests come on like I came on and tell their story as well. But it's also predominantly like from your perspective of going through this as her husband,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Is that all correct?
No,
Yep.
you're nailing it. Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah. So it's just life is really good right now. You know, she was finally able to get a job, which those who suffer addiction and have a background, I'm sure that they've gone through it as well. She's been let go of 2 jobs because the background comes back and they see it, and which is something that I want to change.
Yeah,
I think
it's tough, man.
bull crap, because you got to give somebody an opportunity. Matter of fact, the guys that I work with now, everyone I work with is in recovery, which is
Sweet.
real cool. I'm the only guy that's there that's not in recovery. Everyone else is, and it's just really cool to be around these guys.
You're kind of in recovery, though.
I feel like we
Yeah,
all are
yeah,
in
that's
recovery
true,
in our
yeah.
own ways,
Yeah, good point.
right?
Well,
Yeah,
that's
good
the
point.
way to be.
Whether you're in
A lot of
recovery
people
from
don't get into recovery, but
Yeah.
yeah,
depression,
we should all be in recovery at some point
anxiety,
of some kind.
divorce,
Yeah.
gambling. I mean, come on,
Yeah.
There's people out there that are fast food addicts.
Oh, yeah. Well,
Yeah,
all of us
both.
are phone.
Oh
right?
yeah.
Every
Oh, yeah.
single
Yeah.
one of us, I think, are addicted to our phones.
But I get what you're saying. Substance abuse specifically.
Mm-hmm.
That's you work with all
Yeah.
those. Thanks, man. I appreciate you checking in. Let's go to Janan. Janan,
no.
what is new and good in your world?
Oh, well, I finally, the other day, when I was at work, I guess it was last week and this all started again. I was listening to, or I saw on my Facebook page, this lady named Rachel Santizo. She is working with USARA right now. She's started with them recently, and she just got her certificate for
Peer support, right?
PS peer support specialist. Yeah,
Yep. Yep.
yeah,
Awesome.
and so and which is required for USARA, and I have been struggling since I got sober, figuring out what I want to do with my life. Because I've done accounting for almost 20 years, and it's always been my thing. That's I love working with numbers. I'm passionate about it, but Al and I talked. As soon as I saw that post, I was like, the feeling came back to me again. That I'm not doing anything for anybody, And so Al and I were talking about that over the weekend, and I made the decision that I was going to go get that certification too, and then, hope for somebody to hire me in that kind of field. So,
Yeah. Even
and then
me
I would give
working-
him back and, doing what I was meant to be doing in this life.
Absolutely.
yeah.
Turning around and helping the next person.
Right.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of facilities that you could be a technician, peer support specialist, case manager. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yep.
Tons of opportunity out there.
Yeah.
Thank you. Appreciate you checking
Yeah.
in. All right, babe. What's new and good? What's this thing that's shiny? There's something shiny on your face.
I don't know what you're talking about. My new and good, I went and got my nose pierced yesterday. Something I wanted to do for a long time, since I was a teenager,
We get done and
But-
she's like, "You made my teen
Teenage
dream
heart,
come
my
true."
teenage dreams, yeah. So we made those dreams come true. So yeah, that was pretty fun.
It was fun. I have a video of it. I
Did
don't
you
post.
really?
People are like, "You post everything on social media." No. Okay. If I posted half the stuff that but yeah, I got a cute little video of it. It was pretty fun.
I got to ask
Anyway.
a question. Did it make your eyes water?
A little bit.
Did it really?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
The
I've
lady-
always wondered that.
The lady
She
was
was
so
so
good
good.
though.
She
She
was.
was like fast. Like I swear it was almost like she had a dart and she was just like, and it was through and done.
Holy cow.
No
Yeah.
hesitation, just boom. It was,
Cool.
it was-
Wow.
yeah.
It
it
was really
Cool.
good. Yeah.
Huh.
yeah.
So that's my new and
Anything
good.
else?
Well,
Sorry, I
school
kinda set
started.
you up
No,
on
you're
that one.
good. School started, and we're getting back in the groove, so that's been good. Fridays are half days, which is the best.
Yeah, because you can come hang out with me on the podcast.
Yeah, but also because we get to send the kids home early.
Oh, that too. Yeah.
That's nice. That's nice. Get a day of school in and then send them home. It's good.
Nice. So we're about 10 minutes into this thing. We better get started. This is a podcast about recovery from addiction. So, Janan, Al, thank you for coming on.
Thank you
Where
for
does
having
your
us.
guys' story start and who wants to go first?
That's how.
I knew she was going to point at me.
We did title this How Addiction Affects the Family, right?
yeah.
Because
yeah.
I wanted to get, I'm glad that Janan's on here, but we have people come on and share their stories all the time. Very rarely do we have family members come on that share from their perspective. And I love that she's here too, right? Because she shows that she supports you sharing.
Yeah, which didn't happen that way when I first started my podcast. No, she was ticked. She's like, "You're just here to make me look like crap." And then one day she was able to come into the studio and watch one of the shows, and on the way home, she's like, "Don't stop. You just keep doing what you're doing." I had
Yep.
no clue that's what this was all about. But to
That's,
get
Well,
up,
I thought
that's so cool.
I
Yeah.
believe, and as most people do, is you have your own story to tell. And I felt like he was going to be telling my story to other people. And I didn't want that to happen. I wanted to be able to get to the point where I felt comfortable telling my story
Totally.
to people. And I didn't want him to focus on me
Right.
and his story. I wanted him to be able to tell his own story, which he has been able to do.
And can I just say, when we're in early recovery, we're kind of like, we don't want people to know,
Yeah.
right? Because we feel guilty, we feel shame, we feel like we've let a lot of people down. That's heavy, that's tough.
Yeah.
However, I think through your podcast and having her be a part of it, she's here today
Yeah.
telling her story. Like, she's come
Yeah.
out of that. And I also got to say, I listened to the episode you guys did together, and Janan, you are so much more clear-headed today than
Oh,
you
yes.
were on that episode.
Mm-hmm.
So this is going to be fun. Okay,
Yeah.
sorry, Al, go ahead.
So, and you just said two words: the pain and the shame. And I don't think a lot of us on the other side of the addiction feel that same thing or realize that we are feeling the same thing, because we are. I felt a lot of pain and a lot of shame. Pain, for one thing, is as being her husband and not being able to protect her, because that's what we want to do, right? We want to protect our wives. We want to protect
Absolutely.
our family. And that was so hard for me, not being able to get her to stop. That's why I argued with one of her therapists when she was going to Phoenix. You know, she says, Al, there's nothing you can do. I says, you want to make a bet? You watch me. I tried the same things over and over and over with the same results. Nothing was happening. And then also the shame, because I didn't handle things the right way. I was so angry with her with a lot of stuff that was going on, blamed her for everything that was happening in our lives, not realizing I was being part of the problem as well. And it's just because I didn't know how to handle it. And I believe a lot of us on the other side of the addiction, those are the mistakes that we make. You know, people come up and they're like, I had people come up and tell me, oh, you got to give her the tough love. Tough love. Tell her to get the hell out and do this and do that. And I'm like, all right, gave that a shot. Didn't work. You know, I got down on my knees. I begged her. I bawled. I cried. That didn't work. And if, I like to say, for me, wanting to help her and not understanding addiction, be like me trying to be a doctor and tell you that there's something wrong with you.
Right.
You know, I mean, basically that's how it is. People who are on the other side, if they've not had a loved one that's battling addiction, they don't know what it's like. Just like I don't know what it's like to be an addict.
I'm sure Janan can attest to this. I can't tell you how many times I heard, just stop.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
You got to just stop. You just don't do it. Well, that sounds really easy, right? And I mean, ultimately, that is the solution. But you're talking about a mountain on one side, a valley, and a mountain on the other side. And you're telling me that I got to make that jump? There's no way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you know, use
That, and he also just used to always say, you have a choice. Just make the choice not to drink. I'm like, well, we have a choice.
We have a
but
choice
not
at
for
first.
very long. Yeah.
Yep. It's a disease of choice, actually.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Janan, we're talking about you. I feel like we haven't really painted a clear picture, though. What is it you struggled with? For how long? And how long have you been in recovery now?
It was alcohol, and I can't really tell you how long it was, but I would say it started really in 2009. I've drank since I was 15 years old, but it's never been a problem.
So you were a social drinker.
Right.
And then it became alcoholism around 2009.
Yeah.
What
It
happened
was,
around 2009?
we got
the
married.
yeah.
No, I'm
He loves
serious.
to say that because that's really what happened. But it was one thing after the other. Al, he lost his job a month after we were together. And see, before him, I had never been married. The guys that I was with never treated me like I was good enough for anything. And I was engaged probably 3 or 4 times. Never got married because they always ended the engagement. So I thought there was something wrong with me. And so when I met Al, it was like my dream come true, pretty much, you know? And so we got married, and then I was like, finally, I don't have to take care of my kids by myself anymore. I don't have to pay all the bills by myself anymore. Well, then he loses his job a month and a half later, and
After being there 24 years.
yeah,
That's
and
why
when
she thought it was
and
pretty
when he
stable.
loses his job, he comes home one day and he tells me he's sick. So for 3 days, he's telling me he's sick. And in actuality, he lost his job. And finally, I'm like, this is not Al. Al is not somebody that's sick. If he gets sick, he'll still go to work. He works hard and everything. So finally I said, what is going on? What is really going on? And he told me that he got tested at work and it came back with a bad UA for cocaine, which he was a social cocaine user and drinker.
Yeah.
I guess.
Weekend thing. Friday
Yeah.
and Saturday.
Weekend
And,
warrior.
Friday,
Well,
Saturday only.
When we first got married, or first got together, we had a discussion about that. And I said, I don't want you doing cocaine. If you're going to do it, then we're not going to be together, because my dad died of a heroin overdose. And so all those, I used to think, oh, I will do alcohol. That's it. None of the other stuff. That's too much.
Right. I love when
And-
people say just alcohol.
Yeah,
I just have an alcohol problem.
I know. And see, that's what I was saying to myself. And that's what I believe.
One of the two substances
It's the
on
worst
this
for you,
planet
yes.
that can
Yes.
kill you
Yes.
when you're
Yes.
detoxing
Oh, yeah.
is alcohol.
Yes, and back then I didn't believe that. I didn't know that because I wasn't in the recovery rule. I didn't know anything about it, and so I thought, it's legal, so that's the only thing I'm ever going to do.
And it is. And
And-
it is. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's fair.
and so, but then I realized later, of course, and so I started. That he lied to me for a year about still doing cocaine, and so that was part of what started it. And then my dad died of a heroin overdose another month later.
2 months after, right?
Yeah.
We got married.
So
Wow.
yeah,
I'm sorry.
And so then he had lost his job, so I couldn't pay for the house and everything else with my income, and so we lost the house eventually, like in 2011.
2010, 2011.
And it just kept
we,
getting worse
We used
and
all my
worse.
retirement to work on saving the house. And,
Right.
So it's safe to
it-
say it was a culmination of a lot of things.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
And then
A
in
lot of things.
2014, I started drinking daily. So that's really, for me, that's really the time that it just went way too far.
Got you.
Yeah.
Which is understandable because you literally went from, oh, this is a dream come true. This is what I've been waiting for my whole life,
Yeah.
to dad passing away, Al losing his job, feeling some resentment because he lied to you, right? Losing the
Everything's
house.
falling apart.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Everything's
Yep.
coming,
Yeah.
coming unraveled.
It imploded really, really, really quick. And what was crazy is even after that time, we would still have parties, and we had invited friends and family over, not like huge blowout parties, but maybe 5, 6 people. And we'd sit down, have drinks, play cards, go out in the garage. I had the garage set up like real nice man cave, TV, stereo, speakers all over, dartboard, refrigerator full of booze. It was perfect.
Your own little bachelor
Oh,
garage.
little bachelor
Yeah.
place. Well, she used to say I spent more time in the garage than I did with her, because I was always out there piddling with things. But
That was before I knew he was doing stuff too.
I started noticing a change in her. Instead of doing like a Jello shot and just mixing a drink,
Yeah.
I didn't mix anymore.
she stopped mixing.
Yeah.
It was grabbing the bottle, and
Yeah.
I'm like, there's something changing.
She was drinking with a purpose.
Yeah.
Purpose. And it's crazy because I took that time after I lost my job to go, okay, I'm not going to work for corporate America ever again. And I need to figure out who I am, because I thought I was a pretty good person. And the more I started thinking about it, I'm like, I'm not the person who I really want to be. And because of the drinking and stuff on the weekends, I was at 198 pounds. I mean, I'd weighed more than I have ever weighed in my whole life, and stopped being physical and being active. And
Yeah, you didn't
and,
look like there was none of this stuff going
yeah, there
on.
was none of that stuff.
None of those ripping muscles.
Yeah. So yeah, anyway, I just started noticing a change, and then it got to where I would start confronting her, going, what the hell's going on? And then she'd get defensive. And she never used to go out in the garage. Pretty soon I noticed she'd start going out in the garage. I'm like, okay, now this is weird too. This is not her. Behavior is starting to change. So one day I snuck out there and caught her, and she's fiddling around out in the garage. And I'm like, what the hell are you looking for? And she's like, nothing. And I go over there, and there's a pint.
Sure.
So now she's starting to hide it. And
And
then
I would go down into the laundry room, and
yeah.
on laundry days, I'd put the pints around the
Oh, yeah.
washer and dryer so that I could hide it and he wouldn't even know it.
That's
Yeah.
when the gaminess started.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? The hiding
Yep.
and the gaminess.
Yep.
Yeah, that's when I started noticing things that was really changing. And I had a buddy, Asians like their booze, and they buy expensive booze. When they drink, they buy the good stuff. And he brought me, I had shoulder surgery, and he brought me over this bottle of brandy. I bet you he paid $80, $90 for this bottle. And I didn't want to open it because I was waiting for like a special occasion, whatever that special occasion was. Well, one day I decide I'm going to open it, and I realize, why is it open? I know I didn't open it. And I'm looking at it, and it still looks full. All right, well, this is weird. Go to pour me a drink, and I drink, and I'm like, oh my gosh, it was all watered down. So she was taking stuff out of it and then putting water, and it was a dark bottle, so you couldn't really tell, and that's just kind of how things
And I did that for years with
Started-
his bottles.
started going. And
These
He
are
would
things,
hide his bottles somewhere in the house, and I would search all day long until I could find it.
if I could, if she was good at pheasant hunting, because she could sniff out the booze. I mean, seriously, it didn't matter where I put it. She could find it.
I hear these stories all day.
Yeah.
Yeah, working as a substance abuse counselor. Yeah, so it's makes sense.
Yeah.
Sounds like you struggled with alcoholism.
Yeah.
What you thinking, babe?
Come back to me.
Okay.
Still processing.
Yes.
So at what point do you both say, okay, enough's enough, and you start looking into treatment?
Well, first time I went to treatment was 2011, and I did it for him, completely for him. I didn't think I had a problem even then. And then the first time I really went to treatment was in 2015, and Phoenix was the first place I went. And
Can I
No,
stop you
it was
for
Recovery Ways.
uh-huh.
Oh, never mind.
the
just
first one I went to was Recovery.
real quick? I'm interested in, for the listener out there, you just said, I still didn't think I had a problem.
Yeah.
Why did you not think you had a problem?
Because I wasn't there yet. You know how in AA they talk about went wrong, this went wrong, this went wrong. I had never had any of those things go wrong. So I was doing okay. I was still working a full-time job, taking care of my kids, doing
Taking
everything.
care of me.
Yeah, taking care of him,
Basically, yeah.
doing everything that I was supposed to be doing. So I didn't have a problem,
When
Um,
you woke up in the morning, if you didn't have a drink, would you shake?
No,
Really?
because I didn't start drinking every day until 2014. So this was before then.
Got you.
And then, so the first time I went to rehab, I didn't have to detox or anything because I was only drinking 3 times a week or something like that.
Got you.
And then when I went in 2015, I had to go to a detox center before I went to rehab. That I was at that point where
You'd get the DTs.
yeah.
Yeah. Which that usually is a sign for people, right? And I hear what you're saying, and it's pretty common. A lot of people think that, listen, I just drink a couple days a week. But what they fail to admit to is they drink till they black out,
Yeah.
right? Or they drink in excess. It's not 1 or 2 drinks. It's they're going hard until the lights
Yep.
go out.
Yep.
Typically, people still need care when they're even in that stage, but to them, they don't get it, right? Because they're like, I haven't lost the job. I haven't lost the house. I haven't
Yep.
lost the dog. I haven't lost the kids,
Exactly
right?
what it
Like
is. Yep.
DCFS isn't knocking at my door.
And
But-
still manage life.
Right. They think I'm still functioning.
Yeah.
Which, listen, that's a great time to actually get help, right?
Yeah.
Because it's hard to come back from rock bottom. And so
Mm-hmm.
if the listeners out there and they haven't hit rock bottom, and this is kind of sounding familiar, get help. Because
Yeah.
maybe you don't have to go to a 24/7 hour RTC, residential treatment center. You can start off in day treatment or
Yeah.
IOP, a
Yeah.
lower level of care.
I
you know?
definitely say the same thing. Yeah, because I've said that many times. I wish I would have stopped when I started feeling like I needed to,
Yeah.
because it did get, every time I got sober, it got harder and harder and harder. Just like the disease is progressive. Just every time I got drunk again, it was worse and worse and worse. And so
And when we put together a little bit of time and we go back out, it's like we're right back into it.
Mm-hmm.
You'd think that it would, maybe it took 4 years for you to get wait, 2009, 2015 or 14, you said?
15.
15.
Okay, so, 6 years for you to get to that point. But every time after that, I'm sure you went right back to just as bad and just as often and just as
Yeah,
hard.
except for one. And that was this last time.
This has been awesome. Join us after this 30-second commercial sponsorship mention for part 2 of episode 93.
You are listening to We Do Recover with Jared Miller and co-hosted by Dr. Terry Sellers. We'll be right back after this short break with more of We Do Recover with Jared Miller, sponsored by Steps Recovery Center and the Hilton Garden Inn.
I'm Desmond Lomax, one of the clinical executives here at Steps Recovery, and once you become of the Steps family, you're just a part of the Steps family. A lot of us have overcome substances, overcome addiction, and now we're able to help other people. Second of all, we're also going to help you in a way where you can afford to be helped. Third of all, we're going to give you the same quality that many organizations are charging 2 to 3 times, and it's more about you than it is about our organization.
We welcome you back to We Do Recover with Jared Miller, co-hosted by Dr. Terry Sellers. Brought to you by Steps Recovery Center and the St. George Hilton Garden Inn. And now with part 2 of our podcast, Jared Miller and Dr. Terry Sellers.
Welcome back to part 2, episode 93. Part 2 is brought to you by the Hilton Garden Inn. If you're coming to St. George, give them a Google search. They are awesome. Super clean, super nice. Hilton Garden Inn, St. George, Utah. So look them up. They're great.
And I owe the Richards an apology because Al and his wife are coming down here for a summit and to be on the podcast, but I thought that they already had a room. So I didn't schedule them one. So we got to get that straightened out, babe.
Yeah, we got to call them.
We're going to call the Hilton Garden Inn as soon as we get done in the studio and figure out if they got a room for them.
They're very accommodating. I'm sure they'll work something out for us.
I'll add to that. They're awesome people over there. They really are.
Yeah.
Yeah, we love those guys. Thanks for sponsoring this podcast.
Yes.
Sweet. So we basically left off with went to the treatment the first time, didn't work.
And then pretty much for the next 3 years or so, I was in and out of treatment.
Yeah.
In 2017, I had been sober for 13 months. And likes to say that, so we were at one of those stay-ins or whatever, the daily stay.
No, I won a hotel thing at a networking group.
Yeah.
So it was like a stay vacation. We just
Cool.
packed up and it was only like 20 minutes away from our place, but
Yeah.
you know.
And I had been sober that long, and towards the end of my sobriety of that, I decided to start using Coke with him. And because I wanted to feel the high too when he was drinking or whatever. And so we were at this hotel and we were doing Coke, and he went into the bathroom, and he usually has his cup just sitting there, and I never even think about drinking it. He went into the bathroom, and I don't know what came over me or what, but I grabbed a hold of it and took a drink. And as soon as he came out, while I was doing that, he flips and just starts saying, "You're like a vampire. You get a little bit, and you can't stop." And he was pretty much right, because shortly after that, I was back to it again and worse. In 2017, I got 2 DUIs within 3 months. And the first time I've ever been to jail, and I was 43 years old. And that was a shock because, yeah, I've never been in jail. I've never been in trouble.
It's a whole experience.
Yeah, and I thought, and Al was thinking, well, this will teach her, and she won't drink anymore because it's murder for me to be there, because I'm on, like we were talking earlier, depression, anxiety medication, and they don't give you that when you're in jail. They give you what they think will help you, and it didn't help. So I cry every time I don't even know how many times I've been to jail, but every time I do, I cry. I'm hysterical the whole time.
Oh, yeah.
Jail is not the place to be that way.
Yeah.
You know, because a bunch of tough chicks and guys. And
Typically, that style of aversion therapy is counterproductive, right?
yeah,
Because
it's
a form
it just
of
made
trauma
it worse.
for some
it
people.
just made it worse. Yep.
So, Al, I gotta kind of call you on the rug on something, man.
Okay.
Maybe at this point, you probably didn't know how to be a family member of somebody in recovery. Is that safe to say?
Oh yeah, absolutely, yeah.
So the knowledge that you've acquired today, you didn't have during this staycay.
Right.
Because I was going to say, somebody that's in recovery, typically you don't want to be having,
Oh yeah, right.
cocaine in the
Right.
hotel room and a
Right.
couple
Right.
of booze. And
Yeah. Well, I've even said before, I've shared on our show, and she was sober during that time, but there was actually a time when she was in the depth of her addiction that I'm like, hell, I was so screwed up in the head, I'm willing to try anything just to get her off the damn booze.
so you
You know,
thought
so-
that we call that cross addiction, right?
Yeah, yeah. So I'm
So
thinking,
we'll give her some Coke to get her
Give her
dry
something
from
different.
the booze, and then we'll
Yeah.
wean her off the Coke.
yeah, and I've even said that. How messed up is that? That is so messed up on my part. But again,
Now
what
I
Kind
know
of
do
just
I
sounds
know?
like desperation.
Yeah.
you
It
know?
was.
You-
It was-
I mean,
definitely
whatever
was.
You can try,
And it
right?
only sounds messed up because you know better now, right? Back
Yeah.
then you don't know what you don't know.
No.
And a lot of people, that's actually a pretty common theme for people to think, okay, I'll use substance X to get them off of substance Y, right? And if that doesn't work, we'll try substance Z, right? What ends up happening, sadly, though, is we call it poly addiction, right? Where they're addicted to multiple substances, and now you've compounded the problem.
Yeah.
So let that be a little education piece for the listener.
Yeah.
And a great
For sure.
educational piece. Yeah,
Yes.
because basically all
For
you're
sure.
doing is pissing gas on the fire.
Yeah.
Yeah. And eventually it's going to.
But that's also, I think, a really good reason why, listen, if your loved one is an addict, if your loved one struggles with substance abuse, you have some work you need to do too. Because you didn't cause it, you can't cure it, right? But you contribute. And how do you contribute? Maybe you contribute through ignorance, not knowing that having, again, it's cocaine, it's not her drug of choice. But there's definitely some work that family members need to do to know how to help their loved one, especially in early recovery when they're so vulnerable.
Yeah.
Don't you think, babe?
Oh yeah. I mean, even just learning about addiction and how it works is gonna help.
And most people that have a loved one who is in active addiction, they have some form of codependency,
Oh, yeah.
right? That
we've talked about that a few times.
codependency typically for like you, Al, or the person, of the addict that can't stop using because you're scared. You're afraid they're going to die. You're afraid they're not going to come home. You're afraid that they'll never be able to get back to normal life. And that creates that codependency piece.
Man, I thought that a lot.
Yeah.
A lot. And again, that's where a lot of the pain and shame came in for me. I got to the point where if I came home and she was so damn drunk, I'd blow up on her. I mean, I'm guilty of
yeah.
it. I would lose it. And then
Is
she
that
would get in
because
my
you were high on
face.
cocaine though too?
No. That was because
I've seen some people on cocaine.
Yeah.
It's not a
Oh,
it's not
after
a very nice
after he
drug.
lost his job, he stopped doing
Right. Well,
the
yeah.
cocaine, finally.
You didn't have the
but
money,
then,
right?
then
Yeah.
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 every now
So,
and
I was just
um,
trying to be funny.
Yeah.
No,
I
and,
got it.
and I'm glad, but I was never one of those type because that's why she never knew I was doing it because I wasn't one of those types that got all freaky. I could just do it and still act like we're acting right now.
Go tinker in
You
the
know,
in the man cave.
It never, go tinker in the man cave. So at least I'm doing something,
Right.
But it just
You'd get
it
super
takes you
frustrated.
it takes you down such a dark hole, and so many times I called the cops on her because I'm thinking I'm going to call the cops on her. She's getting physical, she's getting abusive. I'll call the cops. They'll haul her to jail. I'll have some peace. Did exactly that.
She'll dry out.
Did exactly that. Call the cops. Cops would come in, go through whatever they went through. Next thing you know, she's in handcuffs. She's gone. And then I'm going, okay, finally some peace. And then that subconscious starts kicking in, and you're going, crap, man, I shouldn't have called the cops.
That's my wife.
Why did I call the cops on my wife? I just watched her get in handcuffs. Why did I do this? Or there was times I just kicked her out, thinking I'm going to have peace. I'd kick her out, think, all right, peace.
For about 5 minutes.
Yeah, and then I'm like, why did I just do that? What if she comes across somebody that can grab her and throw her in their vehicle and go rape her,
Yeah.
beat her? I mean, every time my phone rang during those times, I could literally feel the blood just rush to the bottom of my feet going, what's this call going to be? Especially the ones that said unknown, because you knew it was the cops. And every time I saw that, I would just, my heart rate would just boom, just start going like crazy. And I'm thinking, they just found her raped, or they just found her dead, or something happened.
She just got in a car accident.
Car accident. Yeah, I've even got a story on that one with a hotel, and I
Sorry, I
literally,
laugh, but it's not funny.
I
It
literally,
isn't.
We
I
believe
freaked
that-
that night.
We believe that tragedy plus time equals humor, so you can laugh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We can laugh now, right? We can
Yeah.
laugh now.
Just
Yeah.
the stupid stuff I did. It just blows me away. Yeah.
Do I have time to share that really quick?
Yes, absolutely. Can we real fast though?
Okay.
Ask Janan. So, what year did you? What you're clean now? You have
Right.
20 months.
Uh-huh.
What was the final kicker? Like, what did it for you?
I definitely had to make that choice for myself without anybody else. But so I'll give you a little bit of backstory on that. So it was 2020, November, and I had been through every treatment center in Salt Lake pretty much, including 2 state ones, which we don't even want to get into that because I'll talk forever. But
You're talking about Medicaid facilities,
yes,
state. Yeah.
Odyssey House.
Yep, yep.
Yeah, we don't want to talk about those because my
And-
temper will rise too. So
Okay. Let's
And
just don't then.
I had just left Odyssey House actually, very 1st of November, and I started drinking it again. And by the probably halfway through November, I was out waiting for my sister at a Subway down the street from our house, and I was drunk, and I was waiting and waiting and waiting, and I kept going into the Subway to go to the bathroom or whatever. They finally called the cops because there's this weirdos.
And
you
you're
know,
loitering at that point.
loitering at their
Yeah.
house, yeah. I mean, at their place. So I got a drunk and disorderly, and I went to the jail. I called everybody I could think of to get me out, and nobody would reply or answer. The first time I've ever spent a holiday in jail was that time. And I spent Thanksgiving. I couldn't get a hold of one person to talk to on Thanksgiving. And it was during the COVID, when COVID was really bad, so they kept you in your cell all the time.
yeah.
You had 1 hour out a day.
So
And so
jail?
I was going stir crazy. And every time I go to jail, I have this moment with God. And this time it was different because, and he's heard me say that so many times before too. This time it was different, babe. I promise this is it. But so this time he was holding me. I felt him holding me, and he was telling me, Janan, this is it. This is your last chance. If you start drinking again, you'll die. And I did what I always do. As soon as I got out, within 2 hours, I was drunk again. I drank for about a week, and then I was so bad. I've never gone into an alcoholic psychosis before, but I did this time. I was seeing things, hearing things. I couldn't get up off the grass at our house. I just sat out there and smoked. I'd pass out for a little while and be up again.
Sounds like a
take
true
some of my
rock
body.
bottom.
Yeah. And Al came out at one time and he said, "Are you ready to go to detox yet?" And I said, "No." And he came out about an hour later and he asked me again. And I said, "Yes, let's go." And so we went to LDS Hospital, and they wouldn't keep me because I had been there AMA so many times. And so they sent me over to VOA detox. I don't know how many people have detox there, but it's not, they have no medical staff.
It's a social detox.
So yeah. So you get your prescriptions from the doctor for your whatever you take, Librium, and it's the worst kind of detox you could ever have. They make you work while you're there. You know, when you detox, it's not something you don't want to do anything. You know, and so I was out of there in 3 days. Al wouldn't take me back. I called my daughter. She says, "Sure, I can come stay with her." The next day, they tell me that I can't stay with them because I was on APMP, and that means they'll come and see me at their house, and they didn't want them in their house. So I called Al, and I was desperate. I'm like, "I have absolutely nowhere to go. Please let me stay one more time." And he said, "Okay, I'll come and get you." He comes to get me, and he lays it down right then. He's like, "I will give you a place to stay. We're not getting back together, and you drink at all, even a sip, you're out, and that's it." and I won't worry where you're at.
Sounds like a pretty fair boundary.
Yeah, it was. And I just stayed sober from there.
Really?
So it was pretty much on my own because, the detox definitely didn't help and no rehab helped.
But had you learned coping skills in those rehabs that you
That's
just
exactly
hadn't maybe applied, that you finally applied?
Yes,
Okay.
that's exactly what it was.
Yeah, apply them, right?
That's why I say pretty much on my own was because I knew how to do it.
Yeah.
I just never chose to do it. But that time was like, I've had enough. I'm done. And I was done. I mean, Al can attest, he looked at me and he saw nothing. He was seeing like he was seeing right through
She
me.
was pretty messed up when she even got out of detox, and I went and picked her up.
Yeah, it took me a while.
I mean,
come
she's
off that
10
one.
years younger than me, and she could. When she walked, she was just shuffling her feet, and when she would try talking to me, it was just like
It didn't make any sense. It sounded like I was drunk, pretty
And I'm
much.
like, what the heck? And she was getting frustrated because she couldn't carry on a conversation with me because I couldn't understand her. And
You're getting wet brain at that point.
Yeah.
Right? When you have alcohol hallucinations, it's basically your brain's not firing properly.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like somebody who is in a zombie mode.
Yeah.
Right? Like they're not making sense. Their motor, what are those called? Your
motor skills.
motor skills aren't working properly. Right,
Yeah.
You're basically just like a zombie because you got wet brain.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
your brain is
So
not
it was
firing properly.
it was about a month after, and I was still in that state. And so he called his uncle and asked him if he would give me a blessing. And we went to his house and he gave me a blessing. And it's just like walking in their door to see the looks on their face. You could tell they were seeing death. There was just, I just looked horrible. And, but shortly after, probably a day even.
No, I
maybe
think it was about 3 days. You started coming around.
a few days after, I was,
and that's the
heading
thing.
back in the right direction.
The number one thing for this thing, it's time.
Yeah.
You've got to have a break from the substance in your body.
Yes.
Like that's just all there is to it.
Yep.
Al,
Yes.
did you have something? How did all this affect you? And I apologize, I kind of cut you off.
No, it's all good.
You can tell the story,
all good.
but this had to have had some kind of effect on you, right? You're so
yeah.
desperate for your wife to, I'm sure that when she had those 13 months, that was probably a pretty good time. You felt like you'd gotten your wife back.
Oh, hell, our relationship was better before it was when we got married. I mean, seriously, our relationship was kick butt. I mean, it took about 7 months of that 13 months to get there, but we were awesome. I mean, we were having fun together. We were joking, laughing. We didn't take anything serious. If somebody said something as jokingly, back in the time, it was like,
Just flowing.
and now everything's just going good.
Yeah.
And when she started hitting the bottle again after that 13 months sober, like she said earlier, everything changed. And we said everything imploded in 2009 when we got married. This was worse. This was like a black hole. And I did my best to keep it from people. I didn't tell my family. I really didn't talk to a lot of friends. And then I slowly started just kind of saying a few things to coworkers. I was working for a chamber at the time and did a lot of networking. And people that know me, when I walk into a room, I'm full of energy. I'm hugging everybody and big smiles. I would walk into a room and I'd put this fake character on. And people who know me started pulling me off the side going, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm great. What's going on? Why? And they're like, "Nah, there's something off with you." And I'm thinking I'm fooling everyone. I wasn't fooling anybody. I was fooling myself. And it just I had a guest tell me once I was addicted to her addiction.
Oh, yeah.
And he frickin' nailed it.
Yeah.
Because I lived my life around her addiction. I might as well have been an alcoholic too, because that's exactly where I was. And it got so bad.
Again, the word's codependent, right?
Codependent, yeah.
Yeah.
And it got so bad, I was coming home from a networking event. And again, our messed up brains, how we think. I'm like, you know what? I'm done. I'm done with this. I'm going to go home. I'm going to get my pistol. Go up in the mountains. I'm done.
Check out.
I cannot come home to this crap anymore. And as I'm driving home, my phone rings. I gather my thoughts, answer the phone. And again, I wish I could, I don't remember who called me. I hung up the phone, and my screenshot on my phone was of my 2 daughters and our 3 grandkids. And I see that picture, and I'm thinking, you selfish SOB. I'm thinking about taking my life because of my wife's addiction and how unhappy. And I was the one that kept jumping on the hamster wheel with her. I didn't want to lose her, even though I filed divorce 3 times and canceled it 3 times. I knew she didn't have anyone, and I wanted to be there. I wanted to be that support, and I didn't know how to be that support. I tried Al-Anon. I'm not knocking Al-Anon. I have an aunt that went to it. She loved it. It worked for her. It didn't work for me. I couldn't stand going to them. And I was crying so hard. I pulled off the side of the road because I couldn't see the road. I'm just bawling, and I'm like, something's got to change. Something has frickin' got to change. And that's when some things just kind of started moving in the different direction. And she told me once, and I share this in my talk sometimes, but I picked her up at Epic once for a little 24-hour stay. She's telling me all this drama crap that happened at Epic, and me being the good therapist that I am, knowing addiction, I started talking to her, well, you should do this, and you should try that, and don't do this. And she finally said, can I ask you to just be quiet for a minute? And I said, yeah, okay, what? And she goes, for once, I wish you'd be my husband instead of my damn therapist. And I was like, that was like a kick in the crotch. I'm like, damn, holy cow. Did you think I still got it? No, because I wasn't listening, because I was so wrapped up with everything else.
How he's going to fix everything.
Yeah, how I'm going to fix everything.
That's a guy thing, though, right?
Well, yeah.
We want to fix it.
Yeah, and especially with our wives, I mean, we want to be there to protect them, and I'm very grateful to say now, with what I've learned, I can be her husband now, and we've learned that communication, and there's times, even in the early stages of her sobriety, she would say, we need to talk, and would sit down on the couch, and she goes, I don't want you to say anything. I just want you to listen.
Yeah, just create space.
And I'm like, you got it. And I would do that, and it gave her that chance to say what she needed to say. And I started learning that when she acted, and one thing, too, that I learned, us on the other side, people, we can have triggers, too. Because there was still times where a certain action or a behavior came, and those flashbacks were like that.
Oh, sure, yeah.
And I'm thinking, oh, holy shit, she's drinking again, and when I'd start having those moments, I started realizing, okay, when this happens, this is how I feel. Instead of, why are you doing it, where I'm attacking her, saying it's her fault, I started realizing I'm the one that's having the issue, not her. I need to at least let her know where I'm coming from, because if not, she's going to feel attacked. She doesn't need to feel attacked. She's already battling a battle that's very, very tough that we know nothing about. And yeah, things just started changing, and it took some time, and we've still fallen backwards here and there, but we've got enough knowledge now that we're able to reel ourselves back in.
You said something there that I thought was pretty profound, and so I just want to echo it and put it out there for the listener. If you're in a relationship with somebody, it's great to be their partner. It's great to be their significant other. Don't try to be their therapist.
Yeah.
That's
sure.
caused problems in me and Mandy's relationship when I've been there, and, we have an open relationship. You can share anything, and then later I'll have resentments about it, right? In the moment, I'm just being a good person and creating, and vice versa, right? Like, if you have some deep stuff that you need to get off your chest, go seek professional help, right? Like, it's good to have friends. It's good to have significant others, but there's nothing like sharing in a space where it's just going to stay in that space with a third-party person that has absolutely nothing to do with the situation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would you agree?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yep.
I love it. Thank you guys so much for coming on here. What is the
Yeah.
best thing? We got about a minute 30 left.
Okay.
What's the best thing about being in recovery?
I don't wake up hungover anymore. I'm happy all the time.
I love it. What about you, Al?
Oh, just the relationship I got back with my wife. You know, she's helped me through a lot of this too. I mean, really. And all this time I was wanting her to say, I'm sorry, I forgive this, or I forgive, you know, for doing all this. And I've realized it was a lot that it was me that I needed to forgive myself to help her. And the relationship that her and I have now, you know, is just, it's incredible. And the addiction
It's
has
not
taught me a lot.
like anything we've had before.
Yeah.
And we were talking about that on the way down here. It's like we have a healthy relationship. I've never in my entire life had a healthy relationship, whether it be with my mom, my dad, my kids, my siblings, whatever. And it feels good. It feels so good to be in a healthy relationship where the judgment's not there.
Life is just easier.
Yeah.
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 Well, hey, listen, good luck with that summit.
Thank you.
Give him a plug. You got 10 seconds here.
Plug. Hilton Gardens, or not Hilton Gardens, Dixie Convention Center.
Tomorrow?
Dave DeRocher tomorrow from 1 to 5. Dave DeRocher, Mallory Roosh, and myself are all speaking about addiction.
Thank you, guys. Check us out next week for episode 94.
Thank you for joining us today on We Do Recover with Jared Miller.
Help us spread our message of hope. Like, comment, and share.
If you have any topics or ideas for future shows, please share that on our Facebook page.
That Facebook page is We Do Recover with Jared Miller. If you or a loved one needs help, please reach out to us. Again, thank you for listening. Brought to you by Steps Recovery Center and the St. George Hilton Garden Inn. This has been a production from a podcast studio.